Hello, I'm Amy Mason. I'm the volunteer coordinator at Rising Lights Project, and I am so happy that you are here watching this volunteer training. We are so glad that you're volunteering with us, and we really feel like our volunteers are the heart and soul of our programming at Rising Lights and part of what makes us great. So I'm really excited that you've decided to join our family and look forward to sharing more about Rising Lights with you. This is our volunteer training. Today, we're going to be talking about who we are, Disability 101, caretaking tips, emergency plans, communication, and policies and procedures. This is our leadership team. On the left, you'll see Jamie Valentini. She is our founder and executive director. Amy Mason, that's me, director of growth and impact. I also work with our volunteers and run our Rising Lights Garden. And Jessica Trevino, who is our co-director of programming. We also have Meredith Phil, who is our social club coordinator, Tessa Manick, who is our community outreach coordinator, and Laura Ford is our director of development. Rising Lights is a registered 501(c) dedicated to creating environments for individuals impacted by disability to learn, laugh, thrive, and engage with the Fox Valley community. We offer programs for adults impacted by disability. We offer inclusive events for families affected by disability. We offer support for moms and dads, and we offer disability awareness for our community. Here are our locations. If you are volunteering with us on Fridays, this is the address, the Elburn Garden address. That is where our garden is located. But all other programming, unless it's social club or in a community outing, will take place at our St. Charles location at 2015 Dean Street, number 5 in St. Charles. Disability 101. Disability is not a bad word. I think some people are afraid to use this word, but this is a word that a lot of our families prefer to use when talking about their children. Our language really matters. So we want to talk about disability in terms of the person first. So we would want to say not an autistic child, but we would want to say a child with autism. So we always want to put the person first. And then ableism is real. Ableism is discrimination, bias, or prejudice against people with disabilities, and it can show up in many ways, including attitudes and assumptions. So, thinking or believing that people who are disabled are less capable or less valuable or need to be fixed. Can also show up in our language, using words or phrases that demean disabilities. It can be show up in policies and barriers. So, for example, like buildings without ramps or access, workplaces that don't provide accommodations, or systems that exclude people with disabilities. It can also show up in forms of microaggressions. For example, saying things like, "You don't look disabled," or assuming someone's limitations without asking. It can be intentional or unintentional, but it can create unnecessary barriers. So, the goal of disability inclusion is to create a world where all people, regardless of their ability, are valued and have equal opportunities, which is what we strive to do at Rising Lights Project. So, I'm going to go through a couple of different disabilities just to give you some idea of some of our participants. So, developmental disabilities include a broad range of disabilities that affect a person's physical body, learning, language, or behavior. These disabilities usually impact a person's day to day functioning and are lifelong. This is probably the majority of the adults in our programming have developmental disabilities. An intellectual disability is a lifelong developmental disability describing when there are limits to a person's ability to learn and function in daily life. Um, this also includes many of our participants. Down syndrome is a lifelong genetic developmental disability where a person is born with 3 copies of chromosome 21 instead of 2. It is the most common chromosomal disorder. Autism is a lifelong genetic developmental disability. Autistic people often have communication and behavioral and social differences from their neurotypical peers. Cerebral palsy, or CP, describes a group of chronic conditions affecting a person's ability to move. It usually occurs during pregnancy or early infancy due to damage in parts of the brain. And Angelman syndrome is a rare neurogenetic disorder that affects approximately 1 in 15,000 people. It's, like I said, it's very rare, and adults with AS typically have balance issues, motor impairment, and can have debilitating seizures. Some individuals never walk, and most do not speak. So, I want to talk to you about some tips for caring for the adults in our programs. Um, because of what we kind of just talked about, it's really important to allow some extra processing time when giving directions. Breaks can be really, really helpful. So if you see any of our friends feeling a little overwhelmed or kind of checking out, sometimes they might need just a little break. Um, Something that can be helpful is setting a timer for a couple of minutes, saying, okay, you can take a break in our sensory space for a few minutes, and then after 2 minutes, we're going to come back and participate. Usually, this is done by the program directors, Jamie Valentini or Jessica Trevino. So, if there are any behavior issues, you would definitely refer to your program director. But these are just some tips that can help everybody feel like they can participate to their fullest. So processing time, breaks, and then visual support as needed. So sometimes a few of our friends need some pictures or they need directions written down, and that can just help them know what's coming next and how to participate more fully. Knowing that each student is unique, so getting to know our students and their strengths and their difficulties. This comes with time and just being a part of the program for a while. As you get to know our students, you'll get to know what they're capable of, and that comes with time and just being a part of our programming. Some students may have a shortened attention span. Some may have impulsive behavior or poor judgment. So just being aware of those things. Sometimes the best way to get somebody back on track is just some redirection or a gentle reminder of what we're doing. Safety tips. Our participants will not leave the building. At our space in St. Charles, we have a front exit and a rear exit, and we have stop signs posted on the doors. Our participants know that they are not supposed to hang out by the front door, or the back door, or leave, but just making sure that we've got eyes on our doors. We don't have currently anyone in our programming that would just leave, but just being aware that even though they're adults and a lot of them are very independent, that they're not allowed to leave the building unless they're with a caregiver. Um, Never be alone in a space with a participant one on one. So we have some spaces in our St. Charles location where it'd be easy to go to a back storeroom with a friend to grab something. It's always a good idea to just take another person with you. So never really be one on one with a participant. Um, Food safety. Some of our adults have a very sensitive gag reflex, and we do have a few adults who have allergies. So during lunchtime, especially, or when we're cooking, we'd like to have eyes on a few of our friends who, just may need some gentle reminders to eat slowly, and to make sure that if we're bringing in food, that some of our adults are getting their allergic needs met. Bathroom safety, never go to a bathroom with a participant one on one. And again, as you get into the program, we do some trainings, on the spot trainings. And so we can always answer any questions, and we'll be giving you more information about the adults that you'll be working with. Behavior plans. We don't really have a lot of behavior issues with the population that we're working with right now. But here's some tips. Occasionally, some of our friends can become agitated or just overwhelmed with sensory stimulation. So, here's some things that really help everything run smoothly. Establish meaningful relationships. Our friends are there because they want to spend time and socialize with other adults. So, this is something that's really important to them and to us. Setting expectations and referencing them. So, it's really helpful to be clear about what kind of behavior or outcome is expected. Scheduling in breaks. So we try to make sure that we're not sitting too long in one place or that things aren't getting too loud or overwhelming. So we just try to schedule our day in a flow that allows for some movement and some sitting and some breaks when needed. First, then language. For example, first we're going to go water the flowers and then you can take a break. That can be helpful if somebody is not wanting to participate, helping them understand that, first we're going to get our jobs done and then we can have some time to rest. And then keeping everyone safe, making sure that we've got eyes on everybody and that everybody is in a safe place doing their activities the way that they should be doing them. We currently have a 1-to-4 ratio, meaning that we have one volunteer or staff person to every 4 adults in our programming. So just being kind of aware when you're in our programming with adults that you should kind of have about 4 people around you to kind of keep eyes on at all times. And that helps ensure that not only is everybody safe, but that everybody's participating and having a really good time. Here are some tips for appropriate touch. We have a really welcoming, warm, affectionate group of adults. And we have a few that really love to give a good hug. And that's totally fine. But here's some tips for making sure that those hugs are appropriate. We let them initiate. So we're not initiating touch. Hugs are no more than 3 seconds. So oftentimes with some of our huggers, we'll count for them and say, 1, 2, 3. Okay, all done. Thank you. Know that it's okay to set boundaries. It's okay for you to say, no, thank you. I don't want to hug. Or, nope, we're not going to hold hands. Or, no, it's not okay for you to tickle me. Things like that. And be sure to just watch for inappropriate touch between our participants. We discuss with them often what's okay, what kind of touch is okay and not okay. So most everybody knows the rules, but keep in mind that these are adults and that that they have romantic interests as well. So we just want to make sure that we are watching and making sure that everybody feels safe. Emergency plans. Health emergency steps. In any emergency situation, we would want to seek appropriate medical treatment right away. Call 911 unless there's a protocol in place for a particular student. So, for example, a few of our students have seizures and their parents have some preferences about how we handle that. But for the most part, if there's a medical emergency that looks like it needs professional attention, call 911. Designate someone to supervise the remaining students. So we would need a few roles. So just know that you might be asked in an emergency situation to sit with a group of students and entertain them. We can play bingo or Uno or grab some board games um, or find something to do on our smart board. But just know that that might be a role that you might play in an emergency situation. You may need to accompany the student to the hospital. Typically, that would happen by one of our program directors. So that would be unusual, but we just wanted to list that just so that you're aware. And then one of our program directors would contact the caregiver or parent, and their number is located on their name tag or in our binders with our participant information. And then our executive director would write up an accident form. Seizures. We do have a few friends with seizures, with seizure disorders. So we wanted you to be aware of some information that can be really helpful. Um, This is what a seizure might look like. So there's many different types and symptoms can vary, but somebody's body might become rigid or limp or jerking. Their coloring might change. They might get blue or pale or flushed. Um, Sometimes their eyes are closed. Sometimes they're staring. So we have a few friends who have kind of these absent seizures where they just kind of stare straight ahead. Um, the mouth might be salivating or puckering. There might be smacking or chewing. Their breathing might be labored or inconsistent. And then after the seizure, they might feel groggy, incontinent, or they might be nauseous. So, what to do? Stay with the person and remain calm. That's the biggest thing. Time the seizure and track symptoms. Call 911 if they do not have a seizure plan and keep the person safe. So, move objects away from them, make sure their airway is clear, do not restrain or put objects in their mouth. I would say if you are with a friend and they begin to have a seizure, that you would notify your program director right away. We do have seizure safety procedure posters posted in our location. So if you need help, we can always help you navigate that more specifically. Volunteer communication. Like I said at the beginning of this training, our volunteers really what help our programs run, and we really rely on having that 1 to 4 ratio. So, communication is a big part of volunteering with Rising Lights. So, we just ask that you would please read all emails and communication. Most of our communication comes through email or GroupMe. So you can sign up for GroupMe. It's an app that you can download on the App Store. And we can add your phone number to that group and you will receive texts. That is the main way that our program directors communicate with their program volunteers on each day. So I'm in charge of our Friday volunteers. I have a Friday group in our GroupMe, and I will send out our agenda and also ask for people to let me know whether they plan to be there or not. If you know you're going to be absent, we ask that you would just communicate that as much in advance as possible. That really helps us plan and bring in other staff members who can help kind of fill those roles. We understand that things come up, like there's emergencies, you might get sick, and so we just ask that you let us know as soon as possible. If possible, you can try to call for a sub. There's a few of our volunteers who have agreed to be on a sub list, so you can always try to call for a sub and see if you can't fill your space. Some of our policies. Our restroom policy is we should never be one on one in a restroom with our participants. If an adult needs assistance in the restroom, ask for help from another volunteer or leave the door propped open with a second volunteer nearby. Communication with Rising Lights adults. A lot of our adults have phones and they love to get your people's numbers. They might ask you to text. At this point, we discourage that. We really discourage kind of texting and communicating with our friends outside of group time. Um, Personal touch. Like we talked about before, so 1, 2, 3, all done. So just making sure that all touch is appropriate. Social media, we ask that you really don't post to your personal pages pictures of what's happening at Rising Lights. You're welcome to take pictures, but we ask that if you want to post something with you and a participant, that you ask for their permission and that you tag Rising Lights Project in it. Otherwise, we ask that you don't post on your personal page without tagging Rising Lights. Um, and then also just respecting confidentiality of our participants. So any information that you might learn about them at programming, that stays with you. This is a little bit about our Rising Lights project culture. So at Rising Lights Project, we really love this idea that we're all friends and that we treat our participants as equals and able individuals. So we really don't, we really try to discourage sort of as volunteers, like we're serving them. It's really more, we're all adults and we're all here to hang out together. Um, our participants are adults, and so we really try to schedule our programming with age appropriate activities and behavior, and encourage age appropriate behavior. So when we're planning our activities, we're always trying to think about, as adults, what would we want to do with our friends, and then giving them those same opportunities. So everyone is part of the Rising Lights family, and we welcome in new friends and volunteers. Everyone participates, so helping our friends stay engaged in our programming. Um, Also, as volunteers, sometimes you just especially bond with one of our participants or another, but just making sure that you're really making an effort to get to know all of the participants in our program and establishing meaningful relationships with them. Okay, here is how to connect with us. If you need any information for new families that want to join Rising Lights or any general Rising Lights questions, you can reach Jamie Valentini. Um, Jessica Trevino, you would contact her for any programming questions. She runs Monday, Wednesday programming and helps with social clubs. And she would also be the person to contact if you see any behavior concerns. You can contact me, Amy Mason, for any volunteer questions or opportunities, Friday Garden Club questions, feedback, and volunteer or Rising Lights family needs. You can also visit our website at www.risinglightsproject.org for information. You can click on our calendar to see upcoming events as well. A few more ways to connect. You can reach out to Meredith Phil for social club communications and inquiries. Tessa Manick for Rising Moms questions. Rising Moms is our caregiver support group for moms. So if you have any questions about that or community events or Saturday playdates, we offer Saturday playdates once a month for younger kids. So if you have any questions about that, or if you would like to volunteer for that, you can reach out to Tessa. And then Laura Ford is our Director of Development. So if you hear of any fundraising opportunities or know of anyone who would like to sponsor an event at Rising Lights, or just for questions about donations and grants, you can contact Laura Ford. So that is it. Thank you so much for watching our training. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to connect with us, and we look forward to having you on board.